Well, straight to Emily with the press review today. Starting off in the US, what do you got for us?
Well, let's start with the Washington Post. They're covering the story here that Trump has pardoned more than 75 of his allies who tried to overturn the 2020 election. Now, the move did not have any immediate effects, mainly because those on the list have so far only been charged with crimes at a state level, and the president can only pardon people facing federal crimes. Now, NPR takes a look at who the president has pardoned and why. The list includes former aides Rudy Giuliani, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and many others. This article says that the Trump administration has used pardons to benefit some of its political allies, and says the move signals Trump's continued focus on relitigating his 2020 defeat. For Politico, it's looking at his sweeping pardon, and it says it raises alarms ahead of the midterms. It says the mass pardon is the first in history to, quote, cover people accused of criminally conspiring with the president who issued it. Now, pardons like these could incentivize efforts to interfere with upcoming elections. CNN finally has this analysis piece on this story. It says that the pardons aren't just political, they're also transactional. The piece says Trump is pardoning people who took illegal or legally dubious actions on his behalf. The president is creating a, quote, permission structure in which people think they can't be held accountable in the federal court.
Now, COP30, of course, is continuing. We've been talking about it a lot here on France 24. Without the US, though, but many eyes are turning instead to China, which is seeing a renewable energy boom. And the papers are talking about this?
Yeah, a lot of articles on China, and some at Climate Good News for once. This is an article in The Guardian here today. China's CO2 emissions have been flat or falling for the past 18 months, according to a recent analysis. The world's largest polluter has managed to hit its target of peak CO2 emissions much earlier than planned. And this is because of its huge increase in solar and wind power, which grew by 46% and 11% last year, respectively. Now, there's a lot of coverage, as I said, on China and this renewables boom. The New York Times here is saying that a flood of green tech from China is upending global climate politics as the US abandons climate action and Europe struggles to realise its ambition. This article says that countries like Brazil, India or Vietnam are rapidly expanding their solar and wind power. And the key to that is China, which is exporting its technology across the globe. Now, the Los Angeles Times, though, asks, will that be enough to curb global warming? Xi Jinping announced that China would cut its greenhouse gas emissions by 7 to 10%. But climate experts say that China would have to reduce its emissions by 30% to be on track with the Paris agreements. Now, the Financial Times is covering another challenge here. It says, can China decarbonise the world's factory floor? It says that although this progress is impressive and has given China leverage in climate change diplomacy, the hardest is yet to come. And the article explains that decarbonising energy-intensive industries is an eye-watering challenge. Now, finally on this, a look from China. This is from CGTN, which says that China is capitalising on its successes by moving into the climate leadership void left by the United States. The article says that the Chinese model stands out as an example of how to balance development targets with climate change concerns.
Going to take you to the world of literature. If you were watching the programme earlier, you'll know what this is about, and Emily's got more for us.
Yes, a lot of coverage on the Booker Prize this year. This is an article in the Times here. David Soloy has won the Booker Prize for his novel Flesh, which the Times calls the blokiest winner of the prize. Now, this book is a rags to riches story which follows a man called Itzvan over the course of 50 years. The character is mysterious, monosyllabic, communicating mostly in yes, nos and okays. Well, The Guardian has an article on this here. It says that the singularity of the novel is that the main character is only ever described as others see him, and that the reader is cut off from his thoughts, desires or emotions, a risky literary strategy which seems to have paid off for David Soloy.
Yeah, it certainly does. Finally, Emily has got something a bit different, some unusual foot-related news.
Yes, this is a toe curling scandal revealed in the Times here. This is news that a Barefoot living group has been infiltrated by foot fetishists. The UK's largest barefoot living Facebook group has around 700 members who promote the benefit of walking around without shoes. But there is trouble afoot, and that is the infiltration by foot fetishists to make the most of the photos that were being posted on the group and harass members for more feet pics. Now, the group has taken steps to protect themselves. It's implemented vetting procedures, and people who want to be members are told that this is not a foot fetishist group. They've also banned photos of, quotes, just feet, clean, dirty, decorated, or otherwise. Now, I wouldn't have wanted to be in their shoes if I were them. They've set off on the wrong foot, but I believe they're back on track now.
I'm glad you had time to work out all the puns, Emily. Did it take you a while in noting them down?
It took me most of the morning.
Very nice. I was trying to think of one back, but I can't. It's too quick. Emily Boyle, the papers on France 24. No talk of verrucas anyway. That's the latest on France 24. More coming up for you straight after the break.